Life can only be understood backwards, but it must be lived forwards. Life is not a problem to be solved, but a reality to be experienced. There are two ways to be fooled. One is to believe what isn't true. The other is to refuse to believe what is true. Anxiety is the dizziness of freedom. Don't forget to love yourself. Take a chance and you may lose. Take not a chance and you have lost already. It's better to get lost in the passion than to lose the passion. The most painful state of being is remembering the future, particularly the one you'll never have. Prayer does not change God, but it changes him who prays. The most common form of despair is not being who you are. Do it or don't do it, you will regret both. To dare is to lose one's footing momentarily. Not to dare is to lose oneself. The crucial thing is to find a truth which is truth for me, to find the idea for which I am willing to live and die. Once you label me, you negate me. Leap of faith, yes, but only after reflection. The highest and most beautiful things in life are not to be heard about, nor read about, nor seen, but if one will, are to be lived. Without risk, faith is an impossibility. Who am I? How did I come into the world? Why was I not consulted? A fire broke out backstage in a theater. The clown came out to warn the public. They thought it was a joke and applauded. He repeated it. The acclaim was even greater. I think that's just how the world will come to an end, to general applause from wits who believe it's a joke. I'm so misunderstood that people misunderstand me even when I tell them I'm misunderstood. For without risk there is no faith, and the greater the risk, the greater the faith. Be that self which one truly is. Confidence is the present tense of hope. The function of prayer is not to influence God, but rather to change the nature of the one who prays. The greatest hazard of all, losing oneself, can occur very quietly in the world, as if it were nothing at all. No other loss can occur so quietly. Any other loss, an arm, a leg, $5, a wife, etc., is sure to be noticed. People demand freedom of speech as a compensation for the freedom of thought which they seldom use. God creates everything out of nothing, and everything which God is to use, he first reduces to nothing. Face the facts of being what you are, for that is what changes what you are. Most people are subjective toward themselves, and objective toward all others, frightfully objective sometimes, but the task is precisely to be objective toward oneself, and subjective toward all others. The door to happiness opens outward. The more a person limits himself, the more resourceful he becomes. Worship isn't God's show. God is the audience. God's watching. The congregation, they are the actors in this drama. Worship is their show, and the minister is just reminding the people of their forgotten lines. The thing that cowardice fears most is decision. To love another person is to help them love God. Prayer is a silent surrendering of everything to God. I am so stupid that I cannot understand philosophy. The antithesis of this is that philosophy is so clever that it cannot comprehend my stupidity. These antitheses are mediated in a higher unity, in our common stupidity. Patience is necessary, and one cannot reap immediately where one has sown. Life is lived forwards, but understood backwards. Purity of heart is to will one thing. Wherever there is a crowd, there is untruth. To be a teacher in the right sense is to be a learner. I am not a teacher, only a fellow student. Hope is passion for what is possible. God does not think, He creates. He does not exist. He is eternal. Whoever has learned to be anxious in the right way has learned the ultimate. The Bible is very easy to understand, but we Christians are a bunch of scheming swindlers. We pretend to be unable to understand it because we know very well that the minute we understand, we are obliged to act accordingly. Therefore, do not deceive yourself. Of all deceivers, fear most yourself. It is not the path which is the difficulty. Rather, it is the difficulty which is the path. The proud person always wants to do the right thing, the great thing, but because he wants to do it in his own strength, he is fighting not with man, but with God. Love is all, it gives all, and it takes all. There is nothing with which every man is so afraid as getting to know how enormously much he is capable of doing and becoming. Love believes all things and yet is never deceived. It belongs to the imperfection of everything human, that man can only attain his desire by passing through its opposite. People settle for a level of despair they can tolerate and call it happiness. I see it all perfectly. There are two possible situations. One can either do this or that. My honest opinion and my friendly advice is this: do it or do not do it. You will regret both. The highest of all is not to understand the highest, but to act upon it. It is very dangerous to go into eternity with possibilities which one has oneself prevented from becoming realities. A possibility is a hint from God. One must follow it. This, then, is the ultimate paradox of thought, to want to discover something that thought itself cannot think. The tyrant dies, and his rule is over. The martyr dies, and his rule begins. If you think you understand, it isn't God. I have only one confidant, and that is the silence of night. The Bible is God's love letter to us. A possibility is a hint from God. One must follow it. If anyone on the verge of action should judge himself according to the outcome, he would never begin. I am convinced that God is love. This thought has for me a primitive lyrical validity. When it is present to me, I am unspeakably blissful. When it is absent, I long for it more vehemently than does the lover for his object. No time of life is so beautiful as the early days of love, when with every meeting, every glance, one fetches something new home to rejoice over. What is a poet? An unhappy person who conceals profound anguish in his heart, but whose lips are so formed that as sighs and cries pass over them they sound like beautiful music. What if everything in the world were a misunderstanding? What if laughter were really tears? Had I to carve an inscription on my tombstone, I would ask for none other than the individual. I believe that there is a longing in my soul that searches the whole world. Love does not alter the beloved, it alters itself. When you read God's word, you must constantly be saying to yourself, "It is talking to me and about me." It is not where we breathe, but where we love, that we live. In my great melancholy, I loved life, for I loved my melancholy.